Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar for the Future of Data Challenge. My name is Christabel Zoliena, and I'm with CARET. We are the agency that is supporting the Omidyar network with the design, development, and management of this initiative. CARET also powers the website and the platform you all are using to register and apply for the Future of Data Challenge. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on the News and Updates page of the Challenge website. We'll also email it to those who have registered for the challenge. We've reserved most of our time today over the next hour for your questions. In just a moment, you'll hear an overview of the Future of Data Challenge from Sushant Kumar, Director of Responsible Technology at Omidyar Network. I'll then do a quick walkthrough of the challenge website with my colleague Ethan Matthews. And then my colleague Taylor Rowell will help open it up for your questions with support from John Juanino, Associate of Programs at Omidyar Network. As questions come up, please don't hesitate to type them into the questions box, and we'll answer as many as we can within our allotted time today. Before we move on, there are some very important dates to keep in mind. The deadline to register for the Future of Data Challenge is in just under 3 weeks on Thursday, August 25th at 3 p.m. Pacific. Please note that you are required to register in order to submit an application. We're also planning an additional pre-application webinar on Tuesday, August 30th at 1 p.m. Pacific. The sign-up link for that session will be shared with all registered applicants shortly after the registration deadline on August 25th. If you have questions or in need of technical support after today's session, you can always reach out to us at questions@futureofdatachallenge.org. Now, I'm very pleased to virtually turn things over to Sushant Kumar of the Omidyar Network.
Hello, everyone. This is Sushant Kumar. I am a director in the Responsible Tech team of Omidyar Network. Thank you, everyone, for joining. It's a pleasure to be speaking about the Future of Data Challenge. First, to introduce Omidyar Network. Omidyar Network is a social change venture that is funded by the philanthropic capital of Pierre and Pam Omidyar, the founder of eBay. And as a social change venture, Omidyar Network works to bring about structural changes, shift the systems that govern our daily lives. There are 3 impact areas that we focus on. Responsible technology is the team that I am part of and which is hosting this Future of Data Challenge. There's reimagining capitalism and cultures of belonging. In terms of Future of Data Challenge, this is part of our work in new data paradigm. The North Star for us, or the goal that we are seeking to achieve, is to work towards a new data economy which works for everyone, as opposed to the current concentration of wealth and power that we see today. And therefore, the key question for us is how can we work towards equity? How can we work towards building a data economy that has equitable outcomes for everyone? Secondly, how can data economy be geared towards public interest? And third, how can we think about new norms, values, and behaviors that can drive the data economy of the future? With this audacious goal in mind, we charted up this Future of Data Challenge with 3 goals. One was to explore the unseen or hidden ideas and solutions. The second was to build a community through the process and nurture that community as well. And third was to energize the field and the actors working towards creating a more equitable data economy. So we are accepting proposals in 3 areas. Number 1, activism and awareness. So all solutions and ideas related to advocacy, related to awareness building, campaigns, grassroots activism, community building would be covered in this segment. Number two, evidence, design, and technology. So any of the ideas that come up with new ways of evaluating data, new ways of thinking about data governance, uh, solutions that think about design as interfaces between interactions of people and technology and transfer of data. And any of that technology which enables this infrastructure would be covered under number two. And number three is policy and governance ideas. So any forward-looking policy or governance framework changes which are proposed would come under this idea. We are really eager to see all of your applications, and we are hoping that together we'll build this community to work towards shifting the paradigm of data. With that, I'll hand it back to Christabel. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Sushant. Now let's walk through the website together and review the process to participate in the Future of Data Challenge. Your first step to determine whether you're a good fit for this opportunity is the Organizational Readiness tool, which you can access from the main drop-down menu. This tool walks you through some questions to help determine eligibility and fit for this challenge. If you answer yes to each question in the Organizational Readiness tool and feel that your organization is a strong fit for the Future of Data Challenge, we encourage you to complete the registration process as soon as possible if you have not already. Again, registration is required for you to be able to submit an application. It's a very simple process. You go to the upper right-hand corner of any page on the website and click on the button that counts down the number of days to register. You will then be instructed to create and confirm your account. After, you'll be prompted to submit basic information about your organization so that we can better understand our registrant community. Please note that you will not receive an email confirmation. If you're able to access the online application and forums on the platform, then you have registered properly for the competition. Now a quick orientation of the Future of Data Challenge website. Like all of Carrot's challenges, the Future of Data Challenge is rooted in the values of openness, transparency, and fairness. We want to be sure that everyone who registers and applies for this opportunity knows exactly what we expect from them, when and how they are going to be scored, and who will be evaluating their applications. This website is built as an instructional guide to understanding that process. A good place to start is the Future of Data Challenge application page. The full text of the application is available for any visitor to this site. You can see all the questions, prompts, requirements, and word count limits. You'll see that the application has several sections, and you are encouraged to read all of them so that you have a good grasp of what is required to submit a full application. Once you've done that, you just have a strong sense of what you will need to do to apply. Next, many people ask about how applications will be evaluated. So on the challenge website, you can see the scoring rubric that will be used during the peer-to-peer and evaluation panel review process to score and comment on submissions. The 4 criteria are transformative, equitable, feasible, and innovative. Each trait consists of a prompt that details what each of those traits mean in this context, and each trait will be given a score between 0 and 5. You can toggle back and forth between the scoring ranges for any given trait, and a scoring range definition will appear to provide further detail on what a low and high score means for the Future of Data Challenge. Here you can see what is defined as a strong proposal, and we encourage you to familiarize yourself with this. And then this brings us to the actual scoring process. So immediately following the application deadline, all eligible submissions will go into administrative review to check for compliance with the rules and eligibility requirements. Those that are deemed valid will move into peer-to-peer review. Each lead applicant will be required to score and comment on at least 5 applications from other organizations using the scoring rubric. And all applicants must participate in the peer-to-peer review process and provide scores and feedback on these 5 applications in order to remain eligible for this opportunity. To save the date, peer-to-peer review is planned for October 12th to October 31st and is done independently using our online scoring platform. More information and a training webinar will be available on October 12th to those who move on to this stage of the challenge. And once peer-to-peer review is complete, a subset of top scoring applications will move forward to the evaluation panel. You can see the list of confirmed expert review panel members on our website. More will be announced soon. Not only will you receive scores on your application from 5 of these individuals, but you'll also get feedback. In addition to numeric scores, peer reviewers and evaluation panel judges are required to provide comments to justify each score and note their overall impression of each application. We often find that this feedback is one of the most important aspects of participating in our challenges, and that even if you're not selected as a winner, you walk away with valuable feedback that you can then use to refine your solutions and seek other funding or expanded support. This brings us to another common question we receive. How do we ensure the process is fair? To address this question, we have a web page dedicated specifically to explaining how we normalize scores. If you go to the menu and click on Scoring Process, then Fairness, you can read more about how this works. I mentioned every valid application will first be scored by 5 fellow applicants, and a subset of top scoring submissions will then be scored by 5 members of our evaluation panel. This means that not every applicant and not every judge will look at every application. We make sure you're not disadvantaged if by chance you are assigned to a hard grader and another applicant was reviewed by someone who tended to be a little bit more lenient. In brief, all scores are rescaled and normalized. Again, please review this website to learn more. There are 2 other features on this website I'd like to point out. First, let's quickly visit the rules page. Here, you can read about the legal stipulations governing your participation. You can find the eligibility criteria, a sample award agreement, and learn more about the detailed terms and conditions. And finally, we have the timeline page that details each phase of the challenge. You'll start at assessment using our organizational readiness tool. And then again, if you haven't done so already, please register as soon as possible. Registration is required and must be completed by Thursday, August 25th at 3 p.m. Pacific for you to be able to submit an application. Once you register, you'll have access to the application platform where you can enter your responses. And then the submission deadline is Thursday, September 15th at 3 p.m. Pacific time. The timeline goes on to list all other key dates related to the challenge. Our website also includes other helpful areas like news and updates, a series of frequently asked questions. You can access that when you click on About from the menu. We encourage you to read over all of it to help support your development of a strong application. And now let's move on to the Q&A portion of the webinar. Please add your question to the questions box and we'll get to as many as possible today. Please note that to ensure fairness, we're not able to provide guidance specific to your proposed idea, but please do email us at questions@futureofdatachallenge.org if you need more information. All right, let's get started. I'll let Taylor take it from here.
Great. First question. What is the project period, and are there restrictions on how we can use award funds?
Sure, I can take that one. So the project period is 2 years, and there are indeed some restrictions. If you go to the rules page, you can see the full list, and we highly recommend you read this in full before you begin your application. Funds may not be used to directly benefit any Admitiar network affiliated individuals or organizations. Funds could be dispersed from a lead organization to other partners to help implement the proposed solution, but not for general funds used for broader purposes. Again, refer to the rules and you'll see more specifics on these restrictions and see what's eligible and ineligible.
My organization has received funding from Admitiar network in the past. May we still participate?
Organizations receiving current or past funding from the Admitiar network may apply with projects that represent significantly different concepts. Future of Data Challenge funding may not be used for operations and/or activities that are currently funded by the Omidyar Network. And please note that individuals, government agencies, and Omidyar Network affiliated individuals or organizations are not eligible to benefit monetarily from the Future of Data Challenge, nor to be the lead organization for any applicant. That said, government agencies and individuals may serve as partners on an application with an eligible lead organization. If you have further questions about eligibility, please email us at questions@futureofdatachallenge.org.
In addition to registration and submitting an application, what are other requirements of participation?
Good question. As we mentioned before, in addition to submitting a completed application, applicants will be required to participate in our peer-to-peer review and provide feedback on 5 proposals submitted by other applicants. This should take roughly 4 to 5 hours over a period of 2 weeks, beginning in mid-October. We'll provide additional resources and training, and more information will be available at the moment on the timeline and on the evaluation pages of futureofdatachallenge.org.
We would like to clarify one point regarding the eligibility of overheads. On the website, it mentions in some cases up to 10% of the $100,000 award may be used towards overhead, indirect, or general operating costs related to implementing the proposed solution. Does that mean that only in exceptional cases overheads are eligible? If yes, in which cases?
So we do expect award funding to go toward direct costs. However, applicants may include up to 10% of this $100,000 award for indirect general operating costs that are necessary to implement the proposed solution. Expert reviewers will strongly consider the budget section of the application as it relates to feasibility and the ratio between direct and overhead costs. Please review the scoring rubric to learn more about how we define a strong solution. And another note, the final budget, including any indirect costs, will be negotiated as part of the final award agreement that each winner will have with the Omidyar Network.
Do you prefer product or service-like solutions, as the application structure seems to suggest, rather than research or advocacy activities, for example?
We are open to receiving proposals that fall within the 3 solution areas, which includes evidence, design, and technology as a second solution area. That prompt specifically outlines conceptualizing new models that establish greater fairness in the data value chain, which can include technology-based experiments, which include those built to enhance privacy and security on decentralized or distributed ledgers and other Web3 principles with open source foundations, and to enhance fiduciary relationships.
What do you consider bold, transformative, or innovative? How might these criteria be evaluated?
I would take a close look at the scoring rubric. If we pull up the rubric, here we have outlined the specific definitions for each of the criteria. So when we think about bold and transformative, if we were to scroll down into let's say the criteria on transformative, apologies to scroll up, we are looking for proposals that have a powerful vision to shift the value of data to benefit all, well-positioned to establish best practices, and is a valuable model that bolsters other models and efforts and can be replicated at scale. Now, if we were to scroll down and take a look at innovative as a criteria, and a score of 5 would be considered inventive. We're looking for groundbreaking solutions that have authentic community relationships with advanced thinking, with an exciting vision for transformational change benefiting communities around the world and across regions.
Great. What is expected from the visual representation of the project? We weren't sure from the description what should be included. Do you have any examples that you might be able to share?
I can start with this one, and John, if you have anything to add here. But we kept this open intentionally. for you all to just provide another way to describe and illustrate your idea. This can include schematics, any kind of user interface, any diagrams, flowcharts, anything that you think would be helpful to further illustrate and describe your proposed solution.
Great. Are there any restrictions for registration?
I'll take this one. No restrictions to register. If you do submit an application, we will check to see if you've only submitted the one application. We only accept one application per lead organization. We do encourage you to check for eligibility in the rules and use the organization readiness tool to help determine if you're a strong fit for the challenge. But if you'd like to check things out, anyone can go ahead and register, create an account, and explore the online platform with the application.
For those in the process of moving to a new institute but won't be officially starting until after the proposal deadline, can they still apply through the new institute?
Yes, it is okay for those transitioning to a new institute to apply, assuming that the new institute allows for it.
How specific or detailed do the metrics, KPIs need to be? Do you have any examples that you can share?
Specificity would be a marker of a strong application, especially for those who will be evaluating. We realize that across the solution areas, there will be some variation across what those KPIs would be. If we're looking at launching a public campaign, for example, an estimated audience reach would be considered. If it is a tech-based experiment, the estimate of the monthly active users and those reached by a pilot would be considered a strong KPI. And governance and policy could include the feedback received from stakeholders in the community on the operational feasibility and impact of a policy, for example. Overall specificity would be a strong marker for an application.
What do you consider to be sufficient evidence of effectiveness for projects, products, and services that are still in initial phases and for which there are no past data points? Is it more important to have evidence that similar projects or strategies have worked, or evidence that the organization and/or the team have been able to deliver impact successfully in the past?
We realize that some applicants may be in the early stages of their proposal or pilot. In the case that it is an early stage proposal where proof of concept has not been fully developed or tested yet, then data on how a similar project or strategy has worked would be useful to include. However, if there have been pilots or that the solution has been tested, any evidence that can be provided in the form of both quantitative and qualitative data would be useful in the application.
Yes, and in some cases, we do appreciate that these may be novel ways of looking at the solution area, and there the strength of the hypothesis, the rationale and the logic that's been suggested would be taken into consideration.
Great. Thank you for the explanations. So how much of the tech should we already have in-house? For example, when it comes to Web3 expertise, or how much could still be in concept?
We do not have a preference for whether the technical expertise is in-house or will be contracted or outsourced to another provider, as there are multiple teams that can, multiple stakeholders who can be part of one team. It is not mandatory that technical expertise be in-house.
Great. Does your conception of the data economy include public sector or community collected and managed data? Or is this just referring to data collected or managed by private sector businesses?
The conception includes both public and private sector data, and we are certainly looking at data that is collected and utilized in public interest, as well as the ones that are stewarded by the private sector.
Are you looking for large-scale solutions in terms of number of people impacted or geographical regions?
Through this challenge, we'll award up to 10 winners with the goal to support a range of impactful solutions that are operationally, politically feasible, and have a potential for impact. So there is no hard boundary on the size of the solution and number of people impacted.
Great. Last question that we currently have. So if you have any more, please feel free to keep adding them in. But the last one that we are currently on, will the questions being answered right now be added to the FAQs, or will a recording be shared with attendees?
Great question. Yes, we'll definitely get these questions added to the forums on the back-end version of the platform. We'll also review these and add to the FAQ as we need. And definitely a recording will be made available. It'll be on the news and updates section of the website. It will also be posted to forums on the platform when you log in, and we'll also be emailing it to everyone that is registered for the competition. And please do continue to send questions even after this webinar to questions@futureofdatachallenge.org, and we'll be sure to respond to you there as well.
Great. That is currently all we have.
All right. Well, I will share some reminders in case folks do want to add more questions. Please do. We have a bit more time. But again, if you haven't done so already, please do register no later than Thursday, August 25th at 3:00 p.m. Pacific. And this will be required in order to submit an application. A recording of this webinar will be made available to registrants by email. We'll post it in forums, and it'll be added to news and updates. After the registration deadline, we'll also send a sign-up link for our next webinar. That will be more focused on the application process. We'll do a technical demo of the platform and answer more of your questions. And that second webinar will be Tuesday, August 30th at 1:00 p.m. Pacific. All right, if there are no more questions, if you have others that come up, please do email us at questions@futureofdatachallenge.org. Thanks again so much for joining us, everyone, and we look forward to your participation in the Future of Data Challenge. Sushant, do you have any closing remarks?
Thank you, Christabel, and thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you for your questions and engagement. We look forward to your applications and eager to get this kicked off. Thank you.